Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my January book wrap up, ratings, reviews, notes, thoughts, all of that. I have my journal where I log all my books. I have my super messy crochet corner, and I have my cute little fairy squishy. So let's just get right into it. I had a pretty good mix of books this year. This year just started. Happy January! Except now it's February. It's February 1st right now. But besides the point, I read 7 books this month and actually DNF'd 1. I never DNF books. I usually put down a book for like months at a time, sometimes even years, and then I'll eventually pick it back up. But this time I actually DNF'd. This is also the first time that I'm actively using Goodreads to track my progress, all my reads, and rate books finally. It takes a minute for me to like input all and every single book that I've ever read in my entire life. But I'm going to try my hardest to get everything on my profile, add my ratings, so that way I could see all of the books I read. I'm also doing the Goodreads challenge, and for my goal of 2023, I challenged myself to read 100 books, which seems very bold, but for me, I don't think that's anything. I'm a very fast reader. I feel like that is very doable for myself, especially when I be reading books that are like this thin, but I'll get to these in a second. I'll go ahead and start with the first book I read this month. I literally read this on January 1st, probably January 1st and 2nd, and that is Poison for Breakfast by Lemony Snicket. I originally got this book last year at Powell's Books in Portland, Oregon, and just now decided to read it this year. It's very short. The cover is super cool. I'm sure you know Lemony Snicket. He's the author of the series of Unfortunate Events books. I've never really read anything else by him besides those, so this is my first like non-kids book, I guess, by him. I'm also going to go ahead and insert the description of these books because, to be honest, I kind of forget what they're about. I know that I like them, but can I name every single detail or the characters or what's happening? Not really, but I know I liked it. So basically, it is a true story of himself, and it's described as a love letter to readers. Basically, it follows a story where he wakes up, he's eating his breakfast that he eats every single day, but he finds a little note that says, "You've had poison for breakfast," or "You've been poisoned," something like that. I think it was "You had poison for breakfast." And it prompts him to go on this journey, this whirlwind of a journey, to go to the different places where he buys his food to see how he could have been poisoned. The point of this book is to be very thought-provoking and philosophical and a love letter to readers. It has a lot of like language arts, literary, fictional terms in it, which is why I didn't think I liked it that much. I think what I struggled with it is that it went on lots of tangents. Like every single paragraph was the entire page, and the book is very tiny. I wish I had it in person, but this is like a normal like A5, A6. I'm just saying shit out of my mouth. I don't know what size this is, but anyways, the book is like this big. It's a very small book, but where was I going? This is what the book is like. It just kind of keeps going and going, except with the book, it goes off on like different fables and different stories, and then like on and on and on about trying to be very philosophical and like have a point, but then we get to the point and I'm like, oh, I don't really care about this point. And it would kind of lose me sometimes. It would just keep going on and on and on. Run-on sentence galore. Your English teacher would love this. Not that I got bored with it. I just found myself putting it down a lot because I got bored. I got tired of reading it sometimes. It's not a bad book. I just think that there's a lot of parts of it that are you might need to know a lot of these references ahead of time. Everything in it is like basically a true story or based on a true story, but I didn't really recognize any of those elements, which is fine. And then the way he writes is just his own unique style. There's nothing wrong with it. I just think personally for me it didn't resonate well, so I did give this one like 2.5 out of 5 stars. 2 stars. The 0.5 star because it was an easy read. It was super short and it has really cute illustrations in it, and I like the cover. So those are all the things I like about it. Anyways, 2 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was actually the book I DNF'd, and that is called Dark Earth by Rebecca Stott. The cover is gorgeous. I love this cover. I originally saw it at the Barnes & Noble 50% off hardcover sale, and I was this close to buying it. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe the library has it, because what if I don't like it? And then I get it at the library, and then I start reading it, and then I don't like it. I'm gonna have to just pull up how to explain this one to you. The premise I think is like super cool. It's super interesting. It takes place in like 550 AD in what was like Roman occupied London, and I don't know anything about this time period. It's like in the medieval ages, the the Dark Ages, if you will. And I was an art major, so I took many an art history class, and I don't think I've ever heard of like this specific Roman occupied London time. I think it's really cool that there's an author that wanted to talk about this period, and girl, she did. It also just kind of lost me. The writing was trying so hard to be very lyrical and profound and open and like have this beautiful writing, and sometimes I really liked it, but I DNF'd this about a third of the way through just because it kind of lost my interest. I didn't really like where the story was going particularly, and I thought I wanted to just let myself finish it and read it through and suck it up, but I gave myself to like almost halfway, and at that point it's not keeping me reading it, so I did go ahead and return it. I don't even think I said what it's about. I can't even really tell you what it's about because I never finished it, but all I know is about these two sisters. They have really cool names. Hold on. That sale almost got me too. Like I was about to buy this thing. Two sisters fighting for survival in a male-dominated oh my God. Two sisters fighting for survival in a male-dominated Dark Ages Britain that weaves a thrilling spell of magic and myth from a best-selling author and historian. I believe she is a historian. I believe that. That is what I believe. The names are Isla and Blue, which are super cute names, but I just wasn't interested in their story. I hope they dominate the males. I live for that. Good on them, girl. Like, please wield that sword on them. Take all the Dark Age men out of the picture, please. Like, I believe they did it. I didn't read it. I didn't read it to find out. Anyways, the next book I read was the first fantasy of the month, and that is Book of Night by Holly Black. And I'm going to hold this up because this is the cover and this is my journal. I got this like 3-4 years ago. They're so similar. Anyways, I'm just going to hold this up. This is Holly Knight's. This is, girl, okay. This is Holly Black's first adult fantasy book. The last books I believe she came out with were the Cruel Prince series and like the accompanying novellas that came with it. The only books that I have read by Holly Black are the Cruel Prince series as well as The Coldest Girl in Cold Town, which is a vampire novel. And then Cruel Prince is about fae, and then this one is about, I don't even know how to explain it. Hold on. It's about shadows and magic, but like real people, like no one has pointy ears or has pointy teeth or has ponytails. Nothing is pointy in this book. It takes place in like modern times, I believe, like modern day Boston. I could be wrong. I'm just saying Boston. Hold on. Okay, I'm reading it. I don't know if it's Boston. I'm gonna just go with Boston. I also borrowed it from the library, which is why I don't have it with me, hence the journal. Anyway, our main girl's name is Charlie. She is a 20-something, which I do like. They aged us up, which is obviously common in adult novels. Anyways, I'm used to them being like 16, 17 years old at this point. And then I gotta get myself back at that age to relate to them. So she's in her late 20s. She lives with her sister and her boyfriend. Her boyfriend is like super weird. He has no shadow. She doesn't know why he acts the way he does sometimes. She doesn't know a lot about his past. She works as a bartender in a bar, but she used to be a con artist, a thief. She was a little sneaky gal in her younger years, which we love. She would like con men all the time, which go her. I don't know why she stopped. But in this world, shadows can be altered, like your shadow, like shadows. They can be what they call quickened, which is you can manipulate them to start doing magic or other crazy things for you. You can make your shadow look like something else. You can make your shadow go through walls and go see things, make you invisible, all this type of crazy shit. Our main girl, Charlie, wants to distance herself from all of the world of conning people and their shadows and stealing shit. So that's why she's working as this bartender from dive to dive to dive. But she gets caught up in this murder that happens by her house, where she sees some shadowy figure literally killing some guy right in front of her, like blood spilling out and everything. And I don't want to spoil anything, but it takes off from there basically. And I love this book. I could not put it down. I wish there was more of it. It is part of a duology, I believe, but the second book does not come out until 2024. I will have to wait a bit, but at this point, all the books that I read, Sarah J. Maas, this girl got us on a chokehold. Like every 2 years a new book comes out. At this point, I'm used to waiting forever for the second book, but I am really excited to read the next one. I give this one 5 out of 5 stars. I super enjoyed the world that she like threw us in. There was a lot of like flashbacks with sometimes kind of get me in the like, okay, we got to go back, but like there's a purpose to that. We go back so we can know how they are now, to see what happened then that changes this thing now. So we go back in time a lot to see all these different flashbacks of how she grew up with her mom and her sister, how she became a con artist, and how that affects her now, what her relationship is to these quickened shadows and the whole shadow magic world. Some parts of it were honestly scaring me, like imagine a sunny day outside and you're staring down at your shadow and your shadow suddenly moves when you don't. Would that not scare the shit out of you? Because it would to me. So I'm reading it and I'm thinking about like, oh my God, like my shadow's moving on its own. But I really like how Holly Black immerses you into the story of like shadows and how they work, and like the lore that comes with it, of how like quickening shadows was like always this thing. It was written about in ancient texts that were lost to time, and all the ancient philosophers have quickened shadows, or all your favorite celebrities sold their soul and have cool shadows, or you can have someone else's shadow attached to you. You can cut your own shadow off and put that bitch on someone else. Like such crazy stuff. I don't think I've ever read a book with this sort of premise, and I really enjoyed it. So give this one a try. Also, the cover is cute. I probably will buy a hardcover of it because I just love it so much. But yes, 5 out of 5 stars, easy. The next book I read was my first and only nonfiction of the month. Probably only nonfiction like ever because I don't read nonfiction. But that is Working on a Song, The Lyrics of Hadestown by Anais Mitchell. This is based off of the musical Hadestown, which is one of my favorites. And I'm actually going to New York on Broadway to see this musical in person this weekend for my birthday. There will be a vlog on that, so stay tuned. But the whole book is just all of the lyrics with her like song notes and writer's notes and stories that went along with it, and all the different stages of its writing and all the different productions from London to Broadway to Vermont showing to like the very first showing in the early 2000s. I was trying to like listen to the songs as I read it, but my brain was like, no. I'm reading way too fast for the music to catch up to it. But I flew by this because again, it's all the lyrics, so I get to read the lyrics in my head and kind of sing along to it and do a little dance, and then I get to read all of her different notes about it. I love this. Easy 5 out of 5. It's one of my favorite musicals, and I'm super glad I got to read this, and I'm super excited to see it this weekend. My favorite songs from this musical are Wait For Me, If It's True, How Long, Any Way the Wind Blows, anything that the Fates sing. I should probably tell you what this is about. Basically, it is about the Greek myth of Orpheus and Eurydice, sprinkled in with some Hades and Persephone. I have heard about this Greek myth before. We did learn about it in school, but he pronounced Eurydice, and I don't know, man. They say Eurydice in the musical, so I'm gonna just go by that. Don't come for me for the pronunciation. I am not Greek. I'm so sorry. But basically, Orpheus is a liar, like all men. Just kidding. Lyre, like the musical instrument lyre. Anyways, he's a little musical guy. Eurydice is a little poor girl. They fall in love. He ignores her. She goes to hell. It's like tale as old as time. He obviously goes down and tries to get her back, but Hades is like, no. Persephone is like, yes. And I'm gonna just leave it at that, because if you don't know the myth, then it's way cooler to go into it just like not figuring it out. So give this musical a listen. It's one of those that like carry into every single song. Like there's no like dialogue speaking parts. It's like one song after another, kind of like Hamilton. So yes, 5 out of 5 stars, Working on a Song by Anais Mitchell. The next book that I read is my second fantasy of the month, which is The Shadows Between Us by Trisha Levenseller. And the glare is so on right now because this is a library book. Now, I've never read anything by this author before, but I did come across this through TikTok. I was looking for books that kind of like match the vibe and energy of like my Sarah J. Maas and shit like that. And this was on like one of the recommended, like, if you like this book, you might like this. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I thought this was gonna be a series. I was ready to like let myself get immersed. No, it is a standalone, which I feel is sometimes hard to find in fantasy books. I feel like the standard is like expecting a duology or like 3-4 plus books in a series, but the pages were getting thinner and thinner at the end. The ends were being tied. They're wrapping a bow on my head and telling me goodbye, the story's over. And I was like, is this the end? So then I did look it up, and it is just a standalone book. Now, what really drew me into this was the first page of the book. Let me read it to you, and you tell me if this is something that is not like instantly gripping into the story. Okay. They've never found the body of the first and only boy who broke my heart, and they never will. Girl, I've read many a book about some badass female character, and again, they're always like 16 years old, like vengeful against the world, wearing pretty gowns with a dagger hidden under their dress, and that's the type of shit that I live for. But then again, it's also the shit that I live for in like 2016, which is how this whole book kind of like read for me. Like, it felt like I was reading like a Red Queen like fan fiction, or just a story about this girl who wants to do anything she can, like take the throne, take the kingdom, kill everybody, kill all the men, which is go her. Nothing wrong with that. But it did feel like a story that I have read time and time again before. But you know what? This is exactly what I asked for. It gave me exactly what I was expecting. It gave exactly what it needed to give. Balls, dances, sword fights, a king who like died mysteriously, badass female character. Honestly, both of them are a little bit like morally awful. What else? Oh, a magic system that makes no goddamn sense. Like the shadows between them, what are they? How did he get them? How do they work? No one knows. He's the only one that has it. You know what? We accept that. I accept that. I take it, I run with it, I let it take me wherever it wants to go. All this girl wants to do is marry the king, woo his heart, and then kill him to take the kingdom for herself. Did she or did she not do that? Guess you have to read it to find out. I did give this 3 out of 5 stars just because like it gave exactly what it needed to, nothing less and certainly nothing more. It was a quick read. It was addictive. The enemies to lovers was like kind of giving for me. I was feeling it. I felt myself get like the butterflies and tingles inside. So I did enjoy this read, even though it was pretty average and basic on terms of like fantasy novels. But yes, The Shadows Between Us, 3 out of 5 stars. And now I will put this book in between us. Okay. The last 3 books I read, I actually kind of like sprinkled all of these within my other reads, but they are all part of the same series. So I'm combining them into one little chat about it, and that is the Clementine books. I read the first 3 books in the Clementine series by Sarah Pennypacker. These are from the library. This one I actually bought. I came across these books when I was on a little hot girl walk to the little free little library in my neighborhood, and it's one of them that actually only accept kids books, and I am a sucker for kids books. Sometimes they're better than like normal adult books, and sometimes I learn way more about life than I would in a big ass adult book. This curly-headed 8-year-old redhead will teach me more about life than, I don't know, Shakespeare? I don't know. There's like maybe 7 or 8 books in this series, but it is basically about this 8-year-old girl named Clementine. Love that for her, first of all. And it's just about her little life in, what is that, 4th grade? I don't know. The first one I read was The Talented Clementine, which is the one that I came across to in the free little library, and I fell in love with this. This is easily going on one of like my top favorite books of all time. And you just gotta read it to find out. If you do appreciate like simple writing with very like profound topics, then you will definitely like this book and all her books. But I think The Talented Clementine, this one, this is the 2nd book in the series. This one is probably my favorite. I resonated so well with this book. It honestly couldn't have came to me at a better time. The little activities that she does in it, the things she talks about, I think she is so funny. Like these books are hilarious. Like think of humor that you find in like a Percy Jackson book. Like it's so funny and so like heartfelt and heartwarming to read. It tells her life in school with her friends and her family and her little brother and like a crush but not crush boyfriend. He'll never be my boyfriend type of vibe. Think of Junie B. Jones or Ramona and Beezus and all that comes with like childhood memories in elementary school. At least all the good ones. Anyways, I have a whole stack like right up here of all my favorite kids books, and I probably will do a video on that because I love how these books make me feel after reading them. Not to mention that they really hike up that reading goal, you know what I mean? Anyways, a book is a book. It doesn't matter if it's about an 8-year-old girl or a bunch of fairies with giant. Anyways, this is a kid's book. I'm not going to talk about that kind of stuff because it's a little dirty. But I read the first book, which is called Clementine. This is the 2nd book, The Talented Clementine. And then the 3rd book is Clementine's Letter, which I actually already returned. This is the 4th book that I still want to read, but I did read the first 3. I feel like I keep talking on tangents about this book without even saying what it's about. But anyways, in this book, her school is putting on a talent show and she feels like she has 0 talents. But in reality, all the other kids in her class are doing like cartwheels as their talent. She feels like she doesn't have any talent and she goes to her friend for help. She's not her friend in this book. I hope she gets to 6th grade and realizes that and dumps her. Anyways, it kind of takes off from there, but within it, it's sprinkled with all her little like family days and hanging out with her brother and just all things like kids do in their daily lives. I think this one takes place in Boston. If I'm being so for real right now, this one I think takes place in Boston. I could be wrong. Some book that I read this month takes place in Boston. That's all I'm gonna say. And that is all 7 books that I read this month. 1 DNF. 2 fantasy, 3 kids book, 1 fiction, 1 nonfiction. I feel like that's a pretty good mix for the beginning of 2023. I can't wait to see what I read in February, which is now while I'm filming this. My goal for January was 5 books. I probably will keep the same just to kind of like see how my groove is. Thank you so much for watching. I love book related content, so hopefully I get to continue more of this in the future. Okay, bye.